What if I told you that 200,000 years ago, our ancestors discovered a technology so revolutionary it would change the course of human evolution forever? This isn't about fire, or the wheel, or even language. This is about something far more subtle, yet equally transformative: glue. Deep in the caves of South Africa, archaeologists made a discovery that would rewrite everything we thought we knew about ancient human intelligence. They found small, ochre-stained stones with a peculiar residue, a sticky, tar-like substance that had survived for over 70,000 years. This wasn't just any residue, it was birch bark tar, one of the world's first synthetic materials, created through a complex chemical process that required planning, experimentation, and abstract thinking. But here's where it gets truly mind-blowing. Creating this glue wasn't a simple task of heating tree bark over a fire. The process required temperatures between 340 and 400 degrees Celsius, maintained in an oxygen-deprived environment. One mistake, and the entire batch would either burn to ash or fail to produce the adhesive properties needed. Our Ice Age ancestors had to understand chemistry before chemistry even existed as a concept. Let me take you back to a cold evening in Ice Age Europe, around 50,000 years ago. A Neanderthal craftsman sits by a carefully constructed fire pit. He's not cooking food. He's about to perform what we would today call chemical engineering. He's collected birch bark, stripped it carefully from trees in the surrounding forest, and now he must transform it into something entirely different. The process begins with creating a specialized heating chamber. Using stones and clay, he constructs a sealed container that will trap the vapors released from the heated bark. This isn't random experimentation. Archaeological evidence shows these heating structures were deliberately designed with ventilation holes positioned at specific angles. The craftsman knew exactly what he was doing. As the bark heats, it begins to break down at the molecular level. The cellulose and lignin in the bark undergo pyrolysis, a thermal decomposition that occurs without combustion. The craftsman must monitor the temperature constantly. Too hot and the tar burns. Too cool and the chemical transformation never completes. He's working with tolerances that would challenge even modern chemists without proper equipment. After several hours of careful temperature control, a thick black liquid begins to seep from the bark. This is the tar, a complex mixture of organic compounds including phenols, cresols, and guaiacols. The craftsman collects this precious substance in a small container, perhaps a hollowed stone or a piece of bark shaped into a cup. He knows this material will remain workable for only a limited time before it hardens. But why go through all this trouble? What made this sticky substance worth hours of careful, dangerous work? The answer lies in what this glue enabled: composite tools. Before adhesives, early humans were limited to tools made from single materials. A spear was just a sharpened stick. A knife was just a sharp stone held in the hand. But with glue, everything changed. Imagine the first time a hunter attached a razor-sharp stone blade to a wooden handle using this tar. Suddenly, the cutting power of stone combined with the leverage and control of wood. The tool became an extension of the human body in a way that had never been possible before. Spears could be tipped with deadly stone points that wouldn't fall off during the hunt. Arrows could be fletched with feathers, improving accuracy and range. Knives could be wielded with precision and power. Recent experiments by archaeologists have revealed just how effective these ancient adhesives were. When researchers recreated Ice Age tar using traditional methods and tested it against modern synthetic adhesives, they were shocked. The ancient glue held stone blades to wooden handles with a bond strength that rivaled some contemporary products. In some tests, the wood split before the glue failed, but the story gets even more fascinating when we look at regional variations. In the Middle East, ancient humans discovered they could create adhesive from a completely different source, acacia tree resin mixed with ochre and plant fibers. This mixture created a composite material, essentially an ancient form of epoxy, that was waterproof and incredibly durable. Archaeological sites in Israel have yielded 100,000-year-old tools still bearing traces of this sophisticated adhesive. In what is now Germany, Neanderthals took glue making to another level entirely. At the Königsauer site, researchers found evidence of a two-component adhesive system. The Neanderthals mixed birch bark tar with ochre powder, creating a material with enhanced properties. The ochre acted as a filler, extending the glue and making it easier to work with, while also improving its grip on stone surfaces. This wasn't just chemistry, it was materials science. Think about what this means for our understanding of ancient human cognition. Creating birch bark tar requires what scientists call recursive thinking, the ability to hold multiple steps of a process in your mind simultaneously while working toward a goal that won't be achieved for hours. You must gather materials, construct heating apparatus, monitor temperature, collect the product, and then apply it, all while understanding that each step depends on the success of the previous ones. Some researchers argue that the invention of glue represents a cognitive leap as significant as the development of language. Both require abstract thinking, planning, and the ability to imagine something that doesn't yet exist. When an Ice Age human decided to heat bark to create a sticky substance for a tool they hadn't yet made, they were engaging in the same kind of forward thinking that would eventually lead to agriculture, writing, and civilization itself. The social implications were equally profound. Glue making wasn't something you could figure out by accident. The process was too complex, too specific. This knowledge had to be taught, passed down from master to apprentice, preserved across generations. Archaeological evidence suggests that glue-making sites were communal spaces where knowledge was shared and refined. We're looking at the earliest evidence of specialized craft knowledge and possibly even the first teachers and students. But here's something that will truly blow your mind. Different human species, separated by thousands of miles and tens of thousands of years, independently discovered glue making. Homo sapiens in Africa, Neanderthals in Europe, and possibly even Homo erectus in Asia all developed adhesive technologies. This suggests that the drive to create composite tools and the cognitive ability to do so might be a fundamental characteristic of human intelligence itself. Let's dive deeper into the actual chemistry that our ancestors mastered without laboratories or textbooks. When birch bark is heated in a low oxygen environment, the complex organic molecules in the bark break apart and recombine in new ways. The process creates a substance rich in betulin and lupiol, compounds that give birch bark tar its adhesive properties. But here's the kicker. These compounds only form within a very narrow temperature range. Go too high and you get charcoal, too low and you get nothing useful. Modern researchers attempting to recreate ancient glue-making methods have failed repeatedly. Even with the benefit of modern knowledge, thermometers and controlled environments, scientists have struggled to produce tar with the same quality as ancient samples. This tells us something remarkable. Ice Age humans possessed an intuitive understanding of materials and processes that we're only now beginning to appreciate through scientific analysis. Consider the environmental knowledge required. To make birch bark tar, you first need to identify birch trees, not always easy in Ice Age landscapes where vegetation varied dramatically with climate shifts. You need to know the right season to harvest bark, when the sap is flowing and the bark peels easily. You need to understand which parts of the tree yield the best material. This represents a deep, intimate knowledge of the natural world that took generations to accumulate. Archaeological evidence from the Campitello quarry in Italy reveals something even more surprising. 200,000 years ago, early humans were using multiple adhesive technologies simultaneously. At this single site, researchers found tools bonded with birch tar, pine resin, and a mysterious third adhesive that hasn't been fully identified. These ancient craftspeople were experimenting, comparing, and choosing the best adhesive for each specific application. They were conducting materials science research. The plot thickens when we examine how these adhesives were applied. Microscopic analysis of ancient tool hafting shows that Ice Age craftspeople didn't just slap glue on and hope for the best. They prepared surfaces, sometimes scoring the stone or wood to increase surface area. They applied the adhesive in thin, even layers. They used binding materials like sinew or plant fibers to reinforce the bond while the glue set. These are techniques that modern adhesive manufacturers would recognize and approve of. But perhaps the most astonishing discovery comes from the Sibadu cave in South Africa. Here, archaeologists found evidence of a compound adhesive made from plant gum mixed with red ochre and possibly animal fat. Chemical analysis revealed that this mixture was heated to specific temperatures to achieve the right consistency. But here's what's incredible. The ratio of ingredients varied depending on the intended use. Tools meant for heavy-duty work had more ochre for strength. Tools requiring flexibility had more plant gum. This is sophisticated materials engineering, 70,000 years before the Bronze Age. Let's talk about the failures, because they're just as important as the successes. Experimental archaeology has shown that learning to make effective glue requires dozens, possibly hundreds of failed attempts. Ancient sites are littered with evidence of these failures: burned bark, improperly heated tar, tools that fell apart. Each failure represented hours of wasted effort and valuable materials consumed. Yet our ancestors persisted, refined their techniques, and eventually mastered the process. This persistence reveals something profound about human nature. Our Ice Age ancestors were willing to invest enormous amounts of time and resources into developing a technology whose benefits weren't immediately obvious. The first person to make glue didn't have a finished composite tool to inspire them. They had to imagine it, work toward it, fail repeatedly, and keep trying. This is innovation in its purest form. The impact of adhesive technology on human evolution cannot be overstated. With composite tools, humans became more effective hunters, which meant better nutrition, which supported larger brains. Better tools meant humans could exploit new environments, spreading across the globe. The ability to create and use adhesives may have been one of the key factors that allowed Homo sapiens to outlast other human species, including the Neanderthals. Ironically, since Neanderthals were also accomplished glue makers, recent discoveries have pushed the timeline of glue making even further back. In 2019, researchers announced the discovery of ochre-stained stones from 500,000 years ago that may have been used in adhesive production. If confirmed, this would mean that glue making predates modern humans entirely, originating with our ancestor species, Homo heidelbergensis. The implications are staggering. Adhesive technology might be older than our species itself. Modern analysis techniques are revealing new secrets about ancient adhesives almost monthly. Gas chromatography mass spectrometry can identify the exact plant species used in ancient glues. Scanning electron microscopy reveals how adhesives penetrated the microscopic structure of stone and wood. Experimental archaeology is uncovering the techniques and knowledge systems that made glue making possible. We're learning that our ancestors were far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. But here's something that should humble us. Despite all our modern technology, we still don't fully understand how Ice Age humans achieved some of their results. Some ancient adhesives have properties that we cannot replicate with modern materials. Some bonding techniques remain mysterious. There are lessons in these ancient technologies that we haven't yet learned, knowledge that was lost when traditional craft practices disappeared. The story of Ice Age glue is ultimately a story about human ingenuity, persistence, and our unique ability to transform the world around us. When an ancient human first heated birch bark and discovered tar, they weren't just making glue, they were taking the first steps toward chemistry, materials science, and engineering. They were proving that humans could create substances that didn't exist in nature, that we could bend the physical world to our will through knowledge and skill. Today, as we develop advanced adhesives for everything from medical implants to spacecraft, we're walking a path that began in an Ice Age cave with a carefully tended fire and a piece of birch bark. The next time you use tape, glue, or any adhesive, remember, you're using a technology that helped make us human. A technology so important that multiple human species independently invented it. A technology that represents one of the first times our ancestors looked at the natural world and said, "We can make something better." The first glue makers couldn't have known that their invention would echo through 200,000 years of human history. They were just trying to make better tools, to hunt more effectively, to survive another day in a harsh Ice Age world. But in doing so, they sparked a revolution in human capability that continues to this day. They proved that humans aren't just tool users, we're tool makers, material scientists, and innovators. And it all started with a sticky substance made from tree bark, created by firelight in the depths of the last Ice Age.